So as you look at the list, Shea had 11 names. I've got 12 on my list. Tell me where I'm wrong, guys. And then there's 2 off to the side. Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Arthur Smith, Mike McCarthy, Drew Petzing. He's the Arizona Cardinals offensive coordinator, has a great rep in the league. Todd Monken from the Ravens, Brian Flores from the Vikings, Thomas Brown, that's 9, Mike Kafka from the Giants, but he also had a real good stint, I think, with the Eagles, played at Northwestern, is 10. Anthony Weaver, the DC with the Dolphins, is 11, and David Shaw overnight from Stanford, the former Stanford coach, who's worked in the league as a consultant, is 12. Then you have Pete Carroll, who has openly said he wants that job and is already talking to other people to be on his staff. And Cliff Kingsbury, who the Bears reportedly have not yet asked for permission to talk to. That's 14. That's 14 names that have been linked to this job.
I got no problem with that because that's a wide net.
That is a wide net.
That's veterans, guys that have been there. There's a Super Bowl champion or 2 in there. Got no problem with that.
Okay, so after listening to our afternoon show with Waddle and Sylvie, looking at the numbers on Mike McCarthy, tell me why he would be a bad hire or a good hire.
I think that he'd be a good hire because of the experience factor. The question I would have is, what about the leadership end of it? Because I wonder with the Dallas Cowboys, and there's always controversy, there's always leaks in that building. I just wonder, how much could McCarthy clean up this locker room? I know he's an offensive genius. We have seen this. I just wonder about the totality of the Chicago Bears and how he handles that. That's what I wonder. I know his head is not, he's not one of these young coordinators with his face in the sheet the entire time, doesn't see anything except the sheet. But I just wonder about how he looks at that locker room and says, okay, enough of this. Is he that kind of leader that can be able to be a disciplinarian if he needs to be, to step it up and do that? I don't know if he can do that. I don't know if he has done that. Those Green Bay Packers team, they were humming. And so with the Dallas Cowboys, okay, you got Micah Parsons. You got some big personalities in that locker room. But I wonder how he would handle that. Like what the Bears went through this past season. How does McCarthy handle that with Tyreek Stevenson and others?
Well, I mean, if you don't last as long as he's lasted, like in one job in Green Bay, it just ran its course. He and Aaron, at the end, it just wasn't great. We know Aaron can be difficult. Green Bay finally said, get out, goodbye, we're still going with Jordan Love. Mike McCarthy came in his first year, went 8-8. And then he went 13-3, 6-10, 11-5, 10-6, 15-1, 11-5, 8-7-1, 12-4, 10-6, 10-6. 7-9, and then he got fired into the next season. They were 4-7-1. And then he goes to Dallas, which was not in a good place, 6-10, 12-5, 12-5, 12-5. This year, lost his quarterback, lost Parsons for a stint. He was 7-10. He has won a Super Bowl. I mean, he is by far the most accomplished guy on the list.
That is correct.
It's not even close.
That's correct. But in both scenarios, outside of Aaron Rodgers, Micah Parsons, a few, ultimately those programs hummed for him. What controversy has Mike McCarthy been in either one of those stints as far as dealing with players?
That speaks to his leadership.
Okay.
And I interviewed 2 guys yesterday, one of whom played for him, said, phenomenal coach. Love playing for the dude. He's in charge. He's not a jerk. Like Mike Vrabel now can be abrasive.
Okay.
I want him because I think that's exactly what that building needs. Mm-hmm. But they said Mike McCarthy's not that way, but it's his way or get out. He's the boss. But he is just much more civil in the way he does it.
You know, Cap, a guy like Vrabel would be good in the building, aside from the players, just for the McCaskies and just for that organization. Just an a-hole in there. If that's his personality, it's something that's needed that we haven't seen in there in a long time. Go through the list of coaches. Which one of those guys change the temperature when they walk in the room?
Right.
Whether that's Lovie Smith or Dick Duran or Mark Trestman, Matt Nagy. Those guys got along to get along. They were perfect for the organization because they were not the face of the organization. They weren't trying to knock the table over. They weren't those guys. Vrabel would be one of those guys. And maybe sometimes you need to be able to have that kind of change in that facility.
Fair.
Just to say, you know what, we're serious about football. You're serious about making money. You're serious about a new stadium. You're serious about amenities and bread and circuses for the fans. I'm serious about football. Get out of my way. I'm trying to win football games.
Correct.
How about that?
Correct.
I know you got all these stat sheets and stuff like that, but I'm a football guy.
Correct.
I don't know if the Bears have had that in that room since Ditka.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
Am I wrong that I'm just like in my head writing off Mike Vrabel because I think he's a Patriot? I think that's a done deal.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
But that is the type of man they need in that room. I've had multiple guys up there tell me that.
Yeah.
Dude, the BS that was allowed to slide here cannot continue, or it doesn't matter how well Caleb plays, how cute the playbook looks, does not matter.
Shay, more likely you are correct. There's a reason why Mayo's out, because that just seems like a great fit for Vrabel to go back to the Patriots. What we're describing is a personality. It's not for me. It's not for Cap. It's not just for the newspapers or blog. It's not about that. It's about the building. And this building is in need of being able to have someone that's a strong personality that cuts through the clutter and just says, I'm just here to coach football. We're just trying to have a winning culture here. And so hopefully that will wake up Ryan Poles as well. See, here's the thing with Ryan Poles. When you have Matt Eberflus, they work together, but it wasn't like Eberflus was over Poles or telling him, hey, I need this, I need that. To have Vrabel in the room, because he's got experience, more experience than Ryan Poles as a GM, he could be able to say, hey, man, I need this. I know that you're looking at this draft pick, but, you know, someone told me that we should get this player or this player. I think that matters a lot. That experience over Poles to make Poles wake up a little bit, because as we've documented on the show, look at the free agency in the draft.
Yeah.
It's not been great.
No, it's bad. Look, the Eberflus thing, I get that scaring people out of a first-time head coach, but I think the reality is if we just look at it, and this isn't personal, it's just professional, as a football coach, he's kind of a dope. It's just Eberflus. They hired a guy who was going to be fired in Indianapolis. They turned over too many rocks, and they turned one over, and they found a dud. I think it's more likely than not a guy like Ben Johnson is also somebody who's going to come in and be like, here's my deal. I want to win football games, and that's how I'm going to lead you. That's it. Get out of my way. We're going to win.
There seems to be a plan with Ben Johnson, and I know that he's like, oh, he should just be happy to get a head coaching job. It just seems as though everything that I read, he's got layered opinions. He got a folder on things that he wants to do because he's prepared himself for this for the last couple of seasons.
He's clearly a smart guy, man. He's like clearly smart, and he's not a coordinator who's on the verge of getting fired. He's not a coordinator who's just had a cup of coffee calling plays. This dude's a proven commodity as a play caller, and the only question is, can he stand in front of a room of 53 guys and galvanize them? And I think it's probably more likely than not, being in the system that he's from and with the coach that he's worked with, he's probably picked a little of it up. I think it's more likely than not he's going to come in here and be that kind of guy.
Mike Vrabel, this is the kind of attitude that needs to be in that locker room.
Expand on, because it sucks to lose, Gentry.
Trey, ever need to show you anything?
Did you have another thought, or no? I'm just curious.
Well,
It sucks. Losing. Awful. That's why I want to win. Because you don't sleep. You want to win for the players that bust their tail. That's it.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel going after Dennis Gentry there. As we talk to you about the Bears here on Cap and J Hood, presented by ESPN.
Gentry.
On ESPN Bet. So poor Pinky right there being raked over the coals by Mike Vrabel, unfortunately. So,
But that is what, like, call me a meatball. That dude is what I want. Because that room is so bad, broken. If one Hail Mary play ended your season, and I've had multiple players, including Jalen Johnson, tell me our season ended on that play right there. We never recovered. Well, that tells you there's no leadership in there.
Can we be honest, though? If that's the highlight that we're playing, that's the attitude that we need a head coach. He had to answer that question because his team was losing nonstop.
Oh, my God. Shea, he had last year, he had 1 billion guys on injured reserve. He went Took a bad team where they fired, I think, Mike Malarkey. 9-7, 9-7, 11-5, 12-5 AFC title game. Come on, what are we doing here? Come on, stop. Stop cherry picking a few losses at the end. Yes, It didn't end well there. It did not. He got sideways with the owner when they fired the GM he liked. They brought someone in he didn't want to work with, and that was the beginning of the end.
And they traded A.J. Brown, and yes, he had a iffy quarterback in Ryan Tannehill that he had minor
furious
successes
they traded
with.
A.J. Brown. Furious.
Couldn't find an offensive coordinator at the end. Like, the whole body of work has to speak for itself. I think it's a little... Like, I heard Evan Cohen on Sportsmanlike this morning. Mike Vrabel's a sure thing. Why? Mike Vrabel can come here and fail just as easily as anybody else.
That's correct.
He can come here and succeed just as easily as anybody else.
And that's why it's important to have a coach, I believe, one, like the experience of Brian Flores or Mike Vrabel. But the other thing is, too, is that from the mistakes or the issues from the previous stop, you could be able to overcome. The hope is that stop 2, you could be able to say, okay, I know my mistakes from before, but I'm getting another bite of the apple, and I'm going to do what I can to be able to straighten things out. I mean, with another opportunity, you hope that you don't coach the same way. You hope that you could be able to do some things that are different. And I think that with a second opportunity, Vrabel will be able to do that. Patriots, Bears, wherever, I think that he can be able to succeed someplace else.
This is also not me saying I don't want Mike Vrabel. I've been clear. If Mike Vrabel's the hire, I will get excited about it. I think he's a good hire. It's just the way that people talk about some of these coaches like they're infallible. And then we look at a guy like Ben Johnson and go, he has no chance of success because he's never done it. I think we take too black and white of an approach here. Any hire that you make will be risky.
No, absolutely agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Especially with this ownership.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think you can hire a head coach and fix that building. The problems in that building go so far beyond head coaching. And I said yesterday, the players have to bear some blame for what went down too. The idea that these guys like Cole Kmet can come out and go, this is the kind of voice that we need, buddy, you should have played football. I don't need to hear from you every week telling me what kind of voice you need. Do you need a babysitter? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
You're a pro football player.
See, the thing that pisses me off the most about this Bears season is that you had veterans, not young players. You had veteran players that could not get the job done. When they had an issue in Washington, the team just folded. And that falls in the coaching staff, but also on these players, too, these high-priced players, these veteran players. The thing that will be so weird about this season is the Cole Kmets and the DJ Moores and the Keenan Allens for the most part and Roma Dunze. These guys are healthy and still cannot be able to get this offense jump-started somehow, some way. And again, it's a personnel issue as well because there's holes on this roster on the offense and defensive line. But, Shay, it is true. You want to have someone to be able to be at the steering wheel to get this thing straight. But also, it's on Ryan Poles as well in a big way. I look forward to his press conference at 10 o'clock because you take a look at that personnel cap, and you told me a few weeks ago, like, yeah, you think you could get it done, maybe straighten this out in a year. It's going to take a couple because it's about infrastructure, and it's about culture, and it's about wins. It's not ready yet. It's not.
Agreed.
Once you tank, it's not like the NBA where you tank and then next year you can maybe get in the play-in. That's not where the Bears are. And it's too bad because I can point out to you 6 cornerstones, and it's still not enough on this football team. Why? Because the Lions are better, the Packers are better, and the Vikings are better. You're still in the rear because you don't have enough impact players to be able to protect your biggest asset in Caleb Williams. And the other side is that you're not getting to the quarterback. The whole Bears outfit has been about running the football and playing strong defense to get after the quarterback. And we can't do either on a regular basis, on an effective basis.
So let me tell you a quick story. So Lou Piniella gets the job. Do you remember when every 4 years the Cubs would hire a new manager? My question would be, do you realize what you've gotten yourself into? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I would do that, Shay, at every press conference. Are you aware what you got yourself into? Joe Madden, Lou Piniella, Dale Swain, you name them. I started in 95, Riggleman to Don Baylor, who was the hot candidate. Rest in peace. I mean, there were a billion of them. A billion. Dusty. A billion of them. And after we got done, Lou goes, come here a second. Let me just tell you something right now. We get enough damn players in here who want to win, all this culture stuff will get fixed. I said, nope, you're wrong. It is different around here. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to run a franchise. It's above Hendry. They just don't know. Tribune has no idea. They have no clue. He sees me at the late Ron Santos golf outing in June, his first year. He's coming out of the bathroom. I'm walking towards it between nines. Hey, what's up there, Sweet Lou? He said, hang on a second. I owe you an apology. What's that? You were right. This place is so effed up, it's going to take me a while to fix this culture. It's so effed up. It is not just going out. Hendry tried to sign a bunch of veterans. And you remember, they were 9 games under his first year. He got kicked out, threw the base, and kicked his hat and the whole deal.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, they went on a 7-game winning streak, and they got to the playoffs.
Yes. But the problem is in this city is that that's like a virus. That story you could put with the Bears.
Yes.
That story you could put with the White Sox. That story you could put with the Bulls. That story you could put with the Blackhawks. It's a virus in this city.
You're correct.
The same thing of, hey, man, we're in Chicago, world-class city. No problem. I'll be able to turn this quickly.
Get me a few players. We're good.
Nope. You have owners that sit there on their ivory tower with loads of money and don't know what to do with it. Hey, guess what? I just won the lottery. What are you going to do with the money?
Hold it.
I don't know. Well, you played the lottery for a reason. Well, you're going to do something with them. Are you going to invest it? You're going to get yourself a home for the summer and the winter? I don't know. I just got all this money. I don't know what to do with my hands.
So I think I'm going to put it in my account and hang on to it.
So, but that's the problem, Shay. And what we just laid out for you is the problem, not just with the Bears, but moving forward. You have ownership in the Chicago Bears, world-class city, okay, charter franchise. But somehow, some way, you don't know what to do with the money that you have. You got like, we're going to spend money on this free agent. We're going to throw it in this hole, throw it in this hole. That's fine for patchwork. But what about sustainability? What about just trying to win a championship? You and I have gone back and forth about what would you rather have? Would you rather have sustained success or just have that one pop-up championship and then go away like the Marlins? What I want is a championship, and I want us to be good every year, to be in the tournament every year. That's not asking too much as a fan. And so when we talk about the Bears, we're not just saying, oh, it's got to be someone with experience. Who can't be a neophyte, only because we've seen the neophytes forever in this city. Forever. And the one that you had is John Fox, who's at the end. That's all we're saying. What we're saying is that whoever they hire, whatever Ryan Poles decides, my God, man, you have more than that. It's got to be Ryan Poles doing his job better and then getting better players in here as well. So this is why it's not a one-year fix. It's not.
Preach.
That's what it is. That's what it is. We see with the Bears, we've seen it forever. Get this hot coordinator here, this hot coordinator there. But they might have been good, but there's no support for that hot coordinator to be the head coach. But that's the thing.
Again,
It's laid out. I got the history right here. I've lived here. I've seen it.
I know, but it's not like they're hiring the top shelf hot coordinator all the time either. They tell you they're getting a hot coordinator, and it's like the third, fourth, fifth guy on the. He was not number one. He was not ahead of Frank Reich. Come on.
He was right there. Matt Nagy was right
Dude, he
there.
coordinated 6 games, and he had none of Patrick Mahomes' shine on him. He was
offered the Indy job that Frank Reich got, and he said, no, I'll take Chicago.
He was coordinating Alex Smith. Like, it just... Ben Johnson is different, and he's a more expensive guy, and he's a guy that historically the Bears haven't hired. They've gone for the Eberflus tier, not the Ben Johnson tier. And I do think that doing that would be different. And I get we've seen inexperienced head coaches before, but that's what's winning in the NFL right now. And getting like you said, getting a guy with experience at the end. How do we know that's not Mike McCarthy or Pete Carroll? Now, Vrabel is younger, so I'm cool with that. But the McCarthy and Vrabel thing, like personally, I think it's a young man's game. I do. Look around the league. It's 40-year-old head coaches.
Young.
Well, Andy Reid's one of the greatest coaches of all time.
But what you're laying out, though,
Harbaugh's 60.
Yeah, but
Jim.
But what you're laying out is that whoever the head coach is, not only do players need support, but the coaching staff needs support too from the general manager
and from the owner
and from the scouts and everything else to make it work. Because it's more than just more than touchdowns. It's more than just scheme. It's about culture. And the culture is not just, hey, is everyone kumbaya? It's about, like, the whole thing working together in concert.
And my point will remain, we don't know that Ben Johnson doesn't have it. We don't know that he has it, but we don't know that he doesn't. And when we look around the league, like, there were the same questions about Kevin O'Connell. There were the same questions about Matt LaFleur. There were the same questions about Kyle Shanahan. There were the same questions about Mike Tomlin 15 years ago and John Harbaugh 5 years before that. It just...
Yeah. Well,
I want to find that. I want to find my 20-year guy, not my 5-year guy to get me to the next title.
No question. And so let's flip it this way then, and as we get ready to take your phone calls here, 312-332-3776. If it is Ben Johnson or if it is one of these hot coordinators, defensive, whatever, the best leader of men, can the Bears support that coach? Can the infrastructure support that coach? See, we don't talk about it in those ways, but we were just laid out, Cap, is the players have to be able to get along, and they've got to be able to have a culture, and the coach has to be able to foster that culture. Can the Bears, from a scouting standpoint, from a Ryan Poles standpoint, from an ownership standpoint, can they be able to support whoever the coach is going to be? Young or old, can they support him? Pete Carroll comes in here with chops. Can you support Pete Carroll? Or because you're flimsy at the ownership spot, you can't support a guy like that, a Hall of Famer? Can you do it? That's a bigger question.
Let me ask you this question, and then when we come back, you can answer this. Ponder this. What if Pete Carroll laid out a plan and he goes, that's my OC, and you're like, you can get that guy? And it's some wonder kind. You're like, wow. And the plan is he will become the head coach when Pete retires. Because Pete's not a long-term answer. He's 73. Would you be on board with Pete Carroll? Because he does fix your culture, but in a more collaborative way than Mike Vrabel, who will be a Mack truck driving through the front door.